Greetings, everyone. It's Yuya again, and on the next leg of the self-actualization tour, and we are privileged to be in the area known as Albuquerque, New Mexico. Just coming out of Austin, Texas, which was phenomenal. A lot of people came through, and of course, same type of thing, being in that Bible Belt area, a lot of people were not familiar with the Risha technology or calculations, but what was so beautiful was that there were some people who were transplants from like the East Coast and the West Coast, and they were able to become familiar again with the sciences. So that there were many people who were thankful for that. So Austin, Texas was an excellent event, and August 1st, this Friday, I'll be at the Obsidian Health and Wellness Center on, I think it's Juan Tablo Boulevard here in Albuquerque. So I urge anyone who's local or knows anyone who's local, spread the word, have them come through. People are really being affected in a great way, you know, by the energy and the spirit and momentum of this tour and this adventure. So that's been good. It's been good for me. It's been affirming as far as some of the visions and the ideas that I've had for ANU, and being able to present them and seeing how they're received. It's been very encouraging. Right now, I really want to get into another topic. I know last time we spoke, I touched on the idea of honor, and it was really just supposed to be that conversation, but I was going through my email box this morning and clearing out like a lot of my emails, answering stuff from clients I haven't been able to speak to for like a week or strong because I've been moving so much. And a lot of people commented on the video. A lot of people sent me emails on the video and wanted more, you know, like more, I guess, just short mini instructionals in a sense, you know, and I was going to do a show last Friday, didn't get to it because we were traveling, and I'm really going to try to do a show this Friday. And what I wanted to hit on with the show was the concept of character, okay, because there's a certain progression that we have to go through when we're coming into the realness of ourselves. And this is really a Thunderground Thursdays topic, you know, on enlightenment and transformation. This is really something I would probably cover in Thunderground Thursday. But, you know, I spoke about honor and really the difference between being honorable or honest. And really the next step after that, the key piece, is to determine your character. You know, in the Yoruba tradition, we talk about Iwa often, Iwa Rere or Iwa Puele. And it's such a critical theme, but a lot of times people mistake character for two other words. They think they're synonymous. They mistake character for morality, or they mistake character for personality, and then they're nowhere near the same. I mean, maybe morality plays a part, personality plays an even smaller part. You know, when we speak about character cannot be discovered outside of the confines of a community. It's the first thing you got to understand. Your character is the role that you play in sustaining the liberty of the community that sustains you. That is your character. Okay, it has nothing to do with how good you are or how bad you are, quote unquote, because those are relative terms that are really just speaking about how we feel at the moment. You know, our logic at the moment that's dictated by how something made us feel will determine if that thing was good or if it was bad. So when we're speaking about character, you know, character comes with certain markers, one of which is our ability to be individuals, you know, to be what we are despite our circumstance, despite our situations. You know, for us, especially those coming into our conscious awareness, for those of us moving like Africans, we have to be that despite colonialism. Not as a response and reaction to colonialism do we now embrace an African concept. And I'm not just speaking about continental African. I'm speaking about Africa, Africans, as I defined in my book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. Those who are embracing and enveloping the light with original flesh. Okay, so that has to be discovered and cultivated within the confines of a community. But at the same time, there's an individual egoic aspect to character where one says, this is what I'm going to do. You know, this is what's needed in the village, and this is the role that I'm going to play. Originally, when we look at even the definition of character, coming from the Latin and after that the French, Character meant symbol. It was a symbol. So just like if you watch some of the Victorian era movies, or just watch some of the Victorian era plays, or read the literature from that era, you'll find that oftentimes when people of notable character or nobility, they would send a message, they would always have a seal that they would put on it, and the seal would make it official. But that seal or that symbol was originally called a character. Okay, so that was the thing that made it authentic. So your character is not what makes you authentic. Your authenticity is expressed through the varying colors of your character, or the symbols of your character. But I want you to look at character like a puzzle piece. Okay, character is like a puzzle piece. And if you look at it like this, if we have a gigantic puzzle, we have a gigantic scene, you know, each character in that puzzle will make up the greater picture. Okay, so by itself, a puzzle piece is basically worthless. I mean, if you're missing puzzle pieces out of a puzzle, the puzzle is dysfunctional. So if you're missing certain characters out of the community is dysfunctional. So you need certain characters, certain individuals to play certain roles. But at the same time, you know, from an individual perspective, one has to know what their character is, despite anything. Okay, character is something that is not developed. You can't develop character as a result of confinement or oppression. Character is not developed like that. Like you really can't develop character if you're living like a slave. If someone is telling you what to do, like what your moral code should be, then you can't develop character, because character is a product of autonomy. You know, you have to be able to say, I'm going to do this because this is what I'm going to do, because it's the right thing or the wrong thing, whatever. But this is what my character dictates, not what my environment dictates. That's where the individual aspect or the egoic aspect of character comes in. You can't really develop character if you're a slave to someone else's religion, or if you're a slave to someone else's will. You know, it's very interesting. Like when we think about character, I'm out here in Albuquerque. And for anyone who knows anything about Albuquerque, it's a pretty rough place. You know, Albuquerque is not it's not necessarily a vacation getaway. You know, but I tend to thrive in rough environments. That's a part of my character. I thrive in hostile environments. I thrive in rough environments because it causes me to make critical decisions, critical choices that help to cultivate my own manliness. You know, that's a part of my character cultivation. It's, you know, but it's not contingent upon my environment. I've made the decision that is how I'm going to respond when confronted with certain environments and situations. So, you know, it's real interesting out here because you have individuals who will live a certain lifestyle, okay, but they're not totally committed to that lifestyle. So what happens is that when that lifestyle starts to bring the consequences or the fruits of what that lifestyle represents, you really get to see that there was never really any true character development within that symbol or that role, because they were functioning within a role, symbol, or lane that was not really designed for them, or they weren't designed for. So they will always fold. I was having a conversation out here just like 5 minutes ago with someone. I actually went to go look for someone I know, and we were supposed to meet up while I was here, and I have to try to check for him later. But I was talking to someone, and he was asking me about New York and what's New York like, and he brought up Frank Lucas, and he said, you know, he saw that movie American Gangster and all the gangsters in New York and everything. And you know, when we speak about character, one of the key things that you'll hear people talk about a lot, especially those who are living street life, is the disdain that they have for snitches, right, or for people who go inform or cooperate with the state. And a lot of times it just seems like, oh, because you're a tattletale, that's why we have a disdain for you. But it's not really so much that. What it is that someone who decides to snitch shows that they never really took on the character of the position that they decided to take on when times were good. So if you're out here and you're doing certain things and you're generating money and generating currency and maybe even some level of power, and then your character is tested by your environment, and you show that you have a completely different character other than what you purported to have, then that means all of the things that you received while you were perpetrating another character they don't really belong to you. You don't deserve to have them, you know, because if you're living that life and certain things come with that life, then there's polarities that are associated with that life, you know. So a lot of times we confuse what true character is, or what a character is, a certain type of character is. If a character is not sustaining, cultivating, developing their community, then they're not truly a character. Characters do that. Characters sustain a community. Characters don't just self-actualize for the purpose of self-fulfillment. I know that's important as I'm on this self-actualization tour, but a key piece in self-actualization is not so that you can just go out there and say, I know who and what I am, and project that into the world. It's really so that you can determine what symbol you are within your community in order to either revive it, rear it, or sustain it. And for some of us, that's more critical than other things, you know. So, you know, I'm going to do a full show. This I do promise, on character development, how to spot character, how to recognize it, you know, and how to not compress it. You know, how to not compress it, but to unleash it. All right, but I just really wanted to do like a quick vid, because a lot of the questions that come in, and you know, I see just with the first video, you know, my videos never really get a whole lot of views. Well, some get a whole lot of views depending on what they are, you know. But if I get a video that gets 600 views, what's so interesting about it is that darn near 600 people will contact me about the videos. So it's kind of interesting. It's like I have a very concentrated demographic, and that demographic is usually pretty active, or at least pretty inquisitive, which is cool. So a lot of people had emailed me about that last video on honor and the warrior code, and you know, like kind of like, well, where do we go from here? What's next after we determine what honor is, or who has it and who doesn't have it? Your next step is character. You know, you got to determine what symbol you represent. You know, at one point, character was defined by the symbol that's left on one's soul. It was an imprint, an engraving on the soul. That was one's character. Now, it's just like a Orisha tradition, like I've taught you all. You know, you can only determine the character of the different Orishas, which are spirits, because they exist within a community. If the Orisha didn't exist within a community, you wouldn't be able to tell what the heck you're looking at. You wouldn't be able to really determine what fresh water was if fresh water didn't have a stream or a river to run through, if it didn't have the embodiment of soil, if it didn't have the embodiment of hard earth and rocks and pebbles and movement and wind, and you know, and its contrast with salt water, and you know, in its different forms. So within that community, one finds definition of their own character, but character is not developed or cultivated because of a community. It's actually developed and cultivated despite a community. Okay, so you know, real critical, you know, just even when you're looking at the Orisha, your soul represents your cosmic morality, and cosmic morality is expressed through your character. So just like the Orisha, you have an Ori, you have a head, a Godhead, and that Godhead expresses itself through the various character and expressions of the Orisha. Okay, so the Orisha do not develop and create the character in you. They actually give you a vehicle to express it, because they're a community. So the same thing, your community and your contribution and being a pillar and a support to your community gives you a vehicle and a venue to express what your actual symbol or your character is. But we are all symbols. You know, if you look at Superman, right? You see the S on the chest. You know, we know it's not an S, it's actually a snake. But anyway, but you know, S for Superman, right? But I think it was the last Superman, Man of Steel, I think that was the one. And somebody was like, I think it was Lois Lane, what does the S stand for? He was like, this is not an S, this is a symbol for something where I'm from. This is my symbol. This is what I live and die by. That's when people shoot bullets at me. I stick my chest out and let them hit the S, let them hit the Kundalini. You know, so one has to determine one's symbol and the symbol that's been engraved upon your soul to better understand what evolutionary force that you represent within the galactic community, your social community, which is most important when you're dealing with character, what you mean within society, as well as your internal community. You know, how is that character expressed? Character is all that is required for a beautiful life. Character is all that is required for E-Ray, for fortune. You know, in my book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power, you'll see on one of the beginnings of the chapters, I mentioned that, you know, character is all that is requisite. You know, so that is the only really requirement, because once you know your character and you know your lane and you're functioning within your character, then you are giving your soul a green light to fully unleash, project, and express yourself. But when you're functioning in someone else's character, then there really is little to no soul projection other than pain and hurt. When you're projecting someone else's symbol, when it's not your symbol, if Superman took that symbol, you know, we used to have Bizarro Superman. I forget what his name was, but like he was the crooked, messed up Superman that Lex Luthor tried to create when he tried to create a copy of Superman, and this one was like all bent up and twisted and deformed, you know, because he was trying to express a symbol that was not his symbol. Everybody has their own symbol, you know, so and as everybody has their own character, we all play a character. And if you could look at your community as a stage or even as a game, because this is all about game and understanding the spiritualism, you know. But when you get your game on point, then you understand what your game is. Once you learn the game, what is the game? The game is whatever your spiritual system or your spiritual way is that you use to understand the world. Now, what is your personal game? Your personal game is the expression of your symbol, the expression of your character. All right, so I'm gonna do a show on it. You know, I know this was probably a little bit longer than I even wanted, but I'm gonna do a full blog talk show and upload and do the usual. And then after that, I think I'm gonna do a piece on integrity. I probably will break down about maybe 5 or 6 simple subjects and just share them with everybody, so you'll have them. And then it'll give you some real strong starting points as to not only define your leadership, but to define your own personal leadership of your own community and how you should express your character and your symbol. All right. With that, I'm signing off from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Maybe I'll do another vid before we leave. After this, we'll be at in Phoenix, Arizona. I think at the Alpha Book Center. So, you know, check us out there. And then I'll be doing a book signing at SO1 Books in California, in LA. For all those who have been supporting, who've come out to the venues, I just want to give a shout of appreciation and gratefulness to all those who've been supporting, coming out, spreading the word. And please do continue. Go to the Facebook page for the Self-Actualization Tour and let everybody know where we're going to be, and come out if you can. But in any event, this is me, Yuya, signing off. And thank you all, you know, for watching this far and for the support. All right, peace.